Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back. We are back with another episode of Rants and Raves. And this evening, we will be chatting about Roe vs. Wade and a lot of things. So, let's get right into it.
Says that this is from the actual decision to quote unquote overturn Roe v. Wade. Okay, it's the district court granted summary judgment in favor of the respondents and permanently enjoined enforcement of the act, reasoning that Mississippi's because this was brought. By the way, I called this as early as I think it was August or I think it was June of last year when this Mississippi case was to be brought before the Supreme Court. I thought they were going to do it in the fall. I'm starting to sound like Andrew Esquire. I thought they were going to do it in the fall of 2021. They didn't. Now they saved. Now I see what was happening. They saved it for a midterm election year.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're getting this right now. So as far as like the Alex Jones stuff, that's about as far as I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
So the Fifth Court affirmed before this court, petitioners defend the act on the grounds that Roe and Casey, now Roe v. Wade versus Casey, that's the Mississippi one, were wrongly decided, and the act is constitutional because it satisfies rational basis review. Okay, and this is where I really need Andrew. Held. Now, this is the important point here. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Got that? Let's read that one more time. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. That's the decision. And everyone and their mother is going to lose their minds because of this, because they think that Roe v. Wade is done.
Yeah.
That oh my God, they're legalizing or they're overturning it. No, they are not.
Yeah.
They are returning it back to the states.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing because they're returning it back to the people. And in this instance, they mean they're going to give it.
We're going to pause it. Let's read this. This is important. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe versus Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is, what's that? Returned? Is that how you pronounce that? Returned to the people and their elected dictators? No, representatives. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. Whew. Wow, that's nuts, guys.
State by state,
because we got a lot of international viewers that watch
is states'
this as well.
rights too, by the way.
So real fast, so you guys understand, the Supreme Court is pretty much the highest court in the land in the United States of America. And within the Supreme Court, you got justices, and these justices pretty much sit there and interpret law, and
their job is to interpret the Constitution, which is exactly what they did.
Exactly. So, so in this case, guys, so to kind of understand this, how this started. So you got the Supreme Court, right, which is the highest court in the land. Then you got something called the 14th Amendment, okay? And the 14th Amendment, guys, to sum it up for y'all without getting into a bunch of legal jargon and boring you guys and putting you to sleep, it protects your privacy. What that amendment did was it was the foundation for Roe v. Wade, because they argued that according to the 14th Amendment, you have a right to privacy, and they argued that your ability to abort a child falls into that bucket of privacy. Basically, what the Supreme Court literally ruled is, listen, we understand and respect your right to privacy under the 14th Amendment. However, this abortion thing does not necessarily fall into privacy. Okay, because now we're talking about potential loss of life, and again, this is not my political opinion. This is what
what it says in the document.
Yes.
We're reading it to you. We only work here. I just work here.
We're summarizing it for y'all because it's a lot of legal jargon, blah blah blah. I'm just gonna put y'all to sleep if I sit here and read Clarence Thomas's fucking opinion. But which was one of the Supreme Court justices that ruled in this case that a lot of people hate, by the way. And I'll get to him in a second because he also has some other things that has the left very scared. But when it comes to abortion or whatever, basically the feds are saying, yo, this ain't our fucking problem because the 14th Amendment, it protects privacy. However, Roe v. Wade, which was sitting on this privacy 14th Amendment as a foundation, it doesn't necessarily qualify because we're talking about lives here, and that doesn't necessarily constitute privacy. Now, is that arguable? Absolutely. That's why it's been able to stand the test of time for 50 years. Roe v. Wade has been around for a very long time, but they just overruled it, and they're kicking it back to the states. So the government's like,
that's it. That's all they're doing.
We don't want to deal with this shit, the federal government. So they're kicking it right back to the states so the states can go ahead and decide on it. And that's why everyone is up in arms because it's no longer their right to be able to do it protected under federal law. Now the states can regulate, and we know at this point, about 50% of the states in the United States are against abortion. So you have a 50% chance of not being able to, get your child aborted if you live in a certain state. You know what I mean? So you might have to go interstate, you might have to travel, etc. And that's what has so many people.
Multinational corporations were already planning for this because we talked about it last month when I was on this very show.
And to clear up some misconceptions also, because a lot of people are, scared about, well, what about contraceptives? What about gay marriage, etc. Because Clarence, right, one of the Supreme Court justices that ruled in this thing was saying we should revisit contraceptives, gay right marriages, etc., gay marriages, all this other stuff, which has people scared because they're looking at it like, yo, since they took down Roe v. Wade, this opens up the door for them to go ahead and attack other social justice issues. Okay. And he's the only person on the panel of the justices that thinks this way. I don't think they're going to go after the other stuff that we discussed. So guys, this doesn't affect contraceptives yet. But that's why everyone is scared because it's opening the Pandora's box in their eyes.
It's setting precedent.
Stuff could be like taken away. But the Plan Bs ain't going nowhere, guys. Don't worry. It's all right for now, at least.
Yeah, trust me.
So I also want to.
So all my niggas in the Raw Dog team, what they gonna do?
Order off Amazon.
Order off of Amazon. What you've always been doing, stroking off to like Pornhub. That's probably what you're going to be doing.
So storm all CVS's and get your care packages.
I want to point out one more thing because we're saying because you're going to hear this constantly from every pundit and especially every like gynocentric mainstream, like what I call the femstream media. As I said last month, they're going to amplify this and amplify it and amplify it up until we get to the midterm elections. So when we have a presidential election, it's all about race issues and it's all, well, Antifa's out there, running around in the streets now too, but it's all about racial issues and inequalities and stuff like that. Now we're in the midterm, so we need to get the ladies involved. So we're going to use that as our sort of our impetus to, drive women to the polls. But I want one thing you're going to hear in the coming months is a woman's right to an abortion. No, you have no right to an abortion. Okay. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. There it is, right there, black and white. And you know what? The only real job that the Supreme Court has is to interpret the Constitution. I don't know if you took
which is federal
U.S. civics in high school because I don't even know if they teach that anymore. But if you had taken a civics course, this is what would be part of it. Like how to, it's funny to me is like I have friends of mine who are naturalized citizens here and they have to take the immigration test to come into the United States. This is part of that. It's like understanding the Constitution and the amendments and the presidents and stuff. So they have to take a test on sort of like U.S. history and civics to actually be eligible to enter the country and become a naturalized citizen, right?
They do,
and we had this.
Immigrants know American law and Constitution better than Americans.
They
sometimes.
do. And we are saying, well, could the average American who was born here pass this test to be an American citizen in here? And this would probably be part of that. What does the Supreme Court do? What's the main job of the Supreme Court? Interpret the Constitution. That's what it's supposed to do.
The Constitution is a federal document.
You know what? All these women shrieking in the streets right now clearly never had a civics course ever because they would know that this is what it is. So whether you're on the left or you're on the right, okay, I've been talking about this for forever. You're going to hear emotional argument versus emotional argument. So you've got the tradcon conservative religious right, where they're just everything is a moral issue, which is based in emotion. Then on the other side, you've got the wokesies and the leftists and the feminists and everyone, like all the women that are just shrieking in the streets right now. And their argument is all emotional. Right here, this is the rational male, right? This is where we start looking at things from nuts and bolts. I am not pro-life. I am not pro-choice. I am not neither. What I am is pro-facts. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So I will say this as I question the timing of this, because I think that you have to remember, and again, here's some facts, is the largest voting bloc in the United States is women. More women vote than men vote, okay? And there are more women who are registered to vote than there are men that are registered to vote. So you've also got to remember that if you can get the female vote, you can most likely, swing an election, assuming you even believe that elections are even valid these days, allegedly. So right now, to get the ladies to the polls, I said this in the last time we were here, is that nothing gets women to the polls like the idea that they're going to lose their right to have an abortion. So and again, and what's the basic function for that? I'll just repeat this one more time. The latent function of abortion is as a fail-safe for bad reproductive choices. You do not get around that, ladies. You do not. You say, what is the function? What is the purpose for abortion? Well, a woman should have a right to choose. I'm not talking about that. So she chooses an abortion. What's the point and what's the purpose of doing that? Why is it so? Why is it that 98% of abortions are elective? Why? I've already heard. I heard President Biden just repeat this not too long ago. He said something about, well, we want to make sure that women who are the victims of incest and rape are going to be, we want to have the right. That accounts for a fraction, a minute fraction of 1%, actually. 1%. If a woman's, if the pregnancy puts the woman's life at risk, that is a higher incidence of abortion than incest and rape.
It's extremely rare.
And I've got the stats to show you here.
And the other thing too, because I did see Biden's, response to the Supreme Court's decision. And, he basically bashed the justices and said, this is a terrible day for America, blah, blah, blah. And, he kept saying, my administration won't allow this. My administration is going to fight, etc. So, there's of course, there's going to be political undertones. I'm not going to lie, though. I do find it very interesting that that they would make a decision like this, knowing that the voter bloc is mostly female, but Supreme Court justices are lifetime. They're pretty much lifetime until they retire. So they're not swayed by voting. So they go ahead and say it with their chest for real, 10 toes down. They don't have to sit there and which I think is a good thing, because if they're there, it's good and bad, I guess, because they can't necessarily be swayed by the public to try to get a vote. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, if you're there forever, are you going to become dated or whatever it may be?
Now here, let me ask you this. Riddle me this, Batman. They're kicking Roe v. Wade back to the states. What's the primary interest of a midterm election? The states, governors, senators, congresspersons, whatever. So as Biden also said, and reading from his script, also mentioned that the Roe v. Wade is on the ballot this year. Like, don't forget, ladies, Roe v. Wade is on the ballot this year.
Voting numbers this year for the states.
Oh, I'm sure.
We're gonna have historic, because no one gives a fuck about state elections. Let's be honest. But I'll tell you this: because I also want to. I don't know if you guys caught this yesterday when we were doing our podcast. We asked the ladies what their thoughts were on Roe v. Wade being overturned. And even we had a couple of ladies on the table, which I'm kind of surprised were actually pro-life. But you know what these ladies said that were pro-life? I still respect the woman's ability to make her own decisions. So technically, they're really pro-choice, even though they personally think they should be pro-life. Like, I'm pro-life, but I think women should have the choice. So my thing is that even if women don't agree with something, it's that collective mindset. They're going to fight
hive mind
to be able to allow other women to be able to exercise certain types of things. I've come to realize this in general when it comes to women. Like, even if you take a girl that's not promiscuous, right? She's going to say a lot of times, not all the time, right? But a lot of times she's going to say, listen, if you want to have a hot girl summer, or I know girls that do it, whatever, you go ahead and do it. You do your thing, girl. I just don't do it. Women will always fight tooth and nail to be able to allow each other to get away with fuckery. I hate to say it like that, but that's just what it is. It's always the hive mind wins, not necessarily what they want. Personally, it's what's going to benefit women overall. Well, pro-choice benefits women overall because they're going to be able to pick and choose what they want to do, even if their personal belief system doesn't adhere to that.
I just find it funny because on the show, right, one of them mentioned, oh, you know what? I would never do that. It's murder. I understand. It's a moral choice that you're making. However, the next question, what if it's a one-night stand or somebody, I don't know, raped you? In that case, it's okay for them. And I'm like, what is it? Are you choosing not to do it because it's murder, or is there a reason when you can do it? So my thing is like, just choose one.
Yeah.
But
but I just find it interesting that even girls that are like, you know, for themselves, pro-life, they're not going to necessarily push that upon other women, which I thought was very interesting. It's very few women actually, if you notice, like a lot of these pro-life clinics and everything else like that, like, yeah, it has women, but those women are very aggressive and like telling other girls like, no, you should keep the baby, whatever. Like they have to go to like another level because it goes against their nature to be, you know, to be, how to say this, adversarial of their own female counterparts.
So, in the spirit of statistics, this is just one website. This is just one website. I'm sure there's lots and lots and lots of others. Of course there is. I've already looked at them all. We're going to look at some statistics real quick before we continue on with our videos. According to Gut Matcher Institute, an estimated lots of numbers in abortions took place in the United States in 2020, up from 800, a lot of numbers. A lot of numbers. Who the fuck? Hoes wanting dick. No.
Excuse me, sir, but I'm afraid someone is endeavoring. Excuse me, sir, but I'm afraid someone is in.
Jesus Christ. All right. In 2019, approximately 19% of U.S. pregnancies, excluding spontaneous miscarriages, ended in abortion. Who has abortions? In 2019, unmarried women accounted for 86% of all abortions. 86% of all abortions were unmarried women. Among married women, 4% of pregnancies ended in abortion. Among unmarried women, 28% ended in abortion. Women in their 20s accounted for the majority of abortions in 2019 and had the highest abortion rates. Interesting. Oh, this is important. Rape and incest. Okay. Adolescents under 15 years old obtained a 0.2% of all abortions. Women between the age of 15 and 19 accounted for 8.5%. Women living with a partner to whom they are not married accounted for 25% of abortions, but only about 10% of women in the population. Interesting. In 2019, women who had not aborted in the past accounted for 58% of all abortions. Women with 1 or 2 prior abortions accounted for 34%. And women with 3 or more prior abortions accounted for 8%. Among women who obtained abortions in 2019, 40% had no prior live births. 45% had 1 or 2 prior live births, and 15% had 3 or more prior live births. Among white women, 10% of 2019 pregnancies ended in abortion. Among black women, 28% ended in abortion, according to the CDC. Black women were more than 3.6 times more likely to have an abortion in 2019 than white women. The abortion rate of non-metropolitan women is about half that of women who live in metropolitan counties. The abortion rate of women with Medicaid coverage is 3 times as high as that of other women. Interesting. And we all know that Medicaid is, of course, state-funded, poverty assistance. Why do abortions occur? In 2004, the Guttmacher Institute unanimously surveyed 1,200 post-abortive women from 9 different abortion clinics across the country. Of the women they surveyed, 957 provided the main reason for having an abortion. This table lists each reason and the percentage of respondents who chose it. 0.5% were victims of rape. 0.5%. 3% were due to fetal health problems. That is, of course, there was problems with the baby, severely premature, maybe some kind of, womb issue, that sort of thing. Physical health problems, 4%. Physical health problems. I'm going to assume that implies physical health problems with the mother, not the fetus. This means, I forget what my mom had with me, but it's basically some kind of semi-rare disorder that kind of your body reverses itself in giving birth, so it attacks you. It attacks your immune system, makes you very ill. 4% would interfere with education or career. 7% not mature enough to raise a child. 7% out of 100%, mind you. Out of 100%, 8% didn't want to be a single mother. 19% were done having children. 23% couldn't afford a baby. 25% were not ready for a child, and 6% other. "25% were not ready for a child." That's alarmingly high. Which goes to prove, hamburger helper, babies who die unbaptized go to limbo of the children, a part of hell with no fire. Contraceptive is clinically evil. I don't know if I agree with that. Everyone has their own religious beliefs. We're not talking about religious beliefs at the moment. We're talking about the facts and the numbers. But the fact that 25% of abortions were due to not ready for a child further proves the point that abortion is not, in fact, due to fetal problems, which makes up 3% of that number. It is not due to the 4% of physical problems that it could cause the woman. And it certainly is not due to not being mature enough. In fact, it's not even due to being scared of being a single mom. It is solely due to being a failsafe for poor reproductive choices. The state of Florida records a reason for every abortion that occurs within its borders. 2020, there was 70,000 abortions in Florida. This table lists each region and the percentage of abortions that occurred because of it. In Florida, because in the state of Florida, all Planned Parenthoods and abortion clinics are required to list reasons for abortion. Florida. I think New York is the other state as well. 1%, 0.01% pregnancies resulted from an incestuous relationship. 0.15% of abortions were due to rape. 0.20% of women got abortions in Florida because the woman's life was endangered by the pregnancy. Not 20%. Not 1%. 0.20% because their lives were endangered by the pregnancy. 0.98% there was a serious fetal abnormality. Again, premature birth, fetal issues. 0.98%, not 1% of abortions, not 2% of abortions. 0.98% of abortions were due to a serious fetal abnormality. However, 1.48% of women got abortions due to the woman's physical health was threatened by the pregnancy. That's why women get abortions, because it could cause fetal problems, it could cause death to the mother. A lot of women aren't healthy, but wait a minute. 1.48%. The woman's physical health was threatened by the pregnancy. That is an oddly small number for the advocate of abortion and murdering of children being due to the fact that it, is problematic for the mother. 1.88%. The woman's psychological health was threatened by the pregnancy. A woman risked going completely insane. 1.88% of abortions were performed because a woman's psychological health was threatened by the pregnancy. However, startlingly, 20.4%. Now, not 0.1%, not 0.15%, hell, not even 2%. 20% of abortions in Florida, the woman aborted for a social or economic reason. – 74.9% of abortions for no reason listed. Which, falls under this. Social economic reasons. They just felt like it. They wanted to. It was a burden to carry a child. So bear with me here, because I'm having a hard time understanding these arguments. It seems that the women that I hear on Facebook, the women that I hear on social media, the women that I'm hearing are really advocating for abortion mostly due to incest and rape, mostly due to simply not being ready for a child, and mostly due to health problems. Those are the primary arguments that I hear. Yet here we see less than 1% in the state of Florida. Now, there are 50 states in the United States. Okay? We all see that? 50 states? Let's pretend for a minute that there was an incest problem in the United States. 1%, 0.1%, I apologize. 0.1% in 50 states is 0.50%. Not 1%, not 2%, not 70%, but 0.50%. If we were to theory craft, incest was such a big problem, okay? 0.50%. If we were to assume that. Let's multiply that by rape, shall we? Some of you in chat are much better at math than I am. If we were to take 0.15%, actually, you know what? .15% multiplied by 50. Aha! Because we can't math and the internet is helpful. So, 0.75%, not 1%, not 2%, not 3%. 0.75% of abortions in theorycraft across the United States of America is due to rape. That's an alarmingly small number. Now, I'm not saying, don't get it twisted, I'm certainly not saying that rape is justified or okay. It is completely insidious and disgusting, and you should be hung by the balls, strung across the streets for incest, 100%. Nor am I agreeing with rape, okay? By any stretch. If you rape a woman, you deserve nothing short of death. If a woman says no, when you force yourself upon a woman, you deserve the absolute worst things a human being could imagine, bar none, among other crimes, in my opinion, okay? But that's an oddly small number, isn't it, chat, for the justification of murdering children, okay? In 2018, 2 women were reported to have died as a result of complications from induced abortions. Between 1973 and 2018, a reported 521 women died due to complications from legal abortions. The number of deaths attributable to legal induced abortions was higher before the 1980s, of course. In 1972, the year before abortions were federally legalized, a total of 24 women died from causes known to be associated with legal abortions, and 39 died as a result of known illegal abortions. In 2014, the average cost of non-hospital abortions with local anesthesia at 10 weeks of gestation is $508. The average cost of a medical abortion up to 9 weeks of gestation was $535. Induced abortions usually result from the unintended pregnancies, which often occur despite the use of contraceptives. In 2014, 51% of all women, 51% of women having abortions used birth control during the month that they became pregnant. 9 in 10 women at risk of unintended pregnancy are using a birth control method. Oral contraceptives, the most widely used reversible method of contraception, carry failure rates of 6 to 8% in actual practice. %40 of minors having an abortion report that neither of their parents knew about the abortion. 39 states currently enforce parental consent or notification laws for minors seeking an abortion. 39 states out of I know, I already know the answer. We're just looking it up for chat. Out of 50 states in North America, 39 currently enforce parental consent. So that means 11 states, which I don't agree with personally. I think all states should have parental consent notification laws. 11 do not have that. We have to have a parent present in order to do this. The U.S. Congress has barred the use of federal Medicaid funds to pay for abortions, except when a woman's life would be endangered by a full-term pregnancy or in the case of rape and incest. 17 states use public funds to pay for abortions for some poor women. About 14% of all abortions in the United States are paid for with public funds, virtually all from the state. I want you to keep these numbers in mind, chat, because this is going to be important later on.
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. When I first started this channel, about when I had a couple of hundred supporters or subscribers, I used to do my videos like this, just kind of chilling in front of the camera and having a conversation with you guys. And, you know, I'm in Florida visiting my mother. Everything's packed up in my trailer. I still plan to take that up to Tennessee in a few more days. And I said, rather than unpack that to do my videos with all my overlays, I'm going to go old school and do it just where you and I have a conversation with none of the bells and whistles. So hoes be mad. Hoes be mad with the Roe v. Wade court decision by the Supreme Court today. A lot of the feminazi screaming left women are very upset that they can't delete babies anymore. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this a little bit is not so much about the Roe v. Wade decision in and of itself. We're, you know, if you want my politic opinions, you can find that over on Locals, or you can become a supporter here by hitting the join button down below. That's where I'm going to do unique videos that are not the normal topics that I cover for you guys that are kind of super fans. But what's important is that women are now seeing what it's like to be a guy. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, since men can become women now and we can have babies now, according to the left, I can have an opinion on this now. But what I find so interesting is that women, when the choice is taken away from them, whether to delete their babies or not, they get very upset. They don't like the fact that the government is coming in and telling them what they can and cannot do. But we as men, we already know what this is like. It's called child support. It's called alimony. And it's called not having a decision in the rearing of a child that you helped create. You know, all this does, Roe v. Wade, this decision doesn't get rid of it. It just puts it back in the state's hands so people that live in that state can vote for or against it, or elect the people that they want to represent themselves in the government. It takes it away from being mandated. That's all. So in many states like New York and California, you can still get rid of it all the way up to and including the day of birth. And in other states like Texas, and I think the other one was Missouri maybe, they're already deciding where, look, it's going to be completely illegal across the board. But I've been pretty much told that if you don't like a law in an area, just move. I've been told that when it comes to my Second Amendment rights. I've been told that when it comes to other decisions. People just tell me, hey, if you don't like it here, move.
Hey, you
So
don't like it, move.
I guess the same thing goes to them. But my whole point here is, you know, when, let's say you're a guy and you get a woman in the motherly way, and she now has to have a kid. Here's your decisions as a man. If she wants to get rid of it, you have no say. If she wants to keep it and says that you're not the father, you have no say. If she wants to put it up for an adoption, you might win a court battle, but then again, she can get pregnant and never even tell you that she's pregnant.
Yep, she goes
and get rid of it, and you might not ever know that you were a father. If she decides to divorce you and says that you did nefarious things to her, and she wants to keep the kids and get custody of the kids, and you have to pay extra child support, you get no say. So you'll notice in all these instances, men have zero say in the issue. Now, all of a sudden, when women are told they might not exactly get what they want, in other words, you have to make a decision by 12 weeks, or you can't, if you get in the motherly way here in this state or another state, you may not be able to kill or end the baby. That's it. And they're really upset about this. But what I like about this is it's making women feel the pain for their consequences and for their choices. We men always feel the pain for our choices. You marry the wrong woman, you pay. You have a kid and you didn't want one, you pay. You pay through child support. You pay. You sleep with the wrong woman and she makes accusations against you that are not accurate or true. Men pay. This is just a little representation of what happens when women don't get the right to do whatever they want. And me personally, I think this is one of the things that's happened in society that's given us so many problems, is that women are pretty much at will allowed to do what they want, say what they want. They want to be, they want to do spicy work, stunning and brave. They want to be 300 pounds and call themselves healthy, stunning and brave. They want to use baby deletion as a birth control option, stunning and brave, and it's their rights. And what's happening is this, it's not even a slow slide anymore. This has really happened in the last 5 or 6 years where everything is lurching so hard off to the left. And, we can have the debate of whether it should or should not be legal or how far into the pregnancy that a woman can delete. We can have that debate. But the debate is gone. Now if you are wanting any rules, any laws, any protections for anyone other than 100% for what the woman wants, you're in the wrong and you're the bad guy and you're the problem. So as long as society continues to think like this, as long as society lets the most emotional, irrational, and crazy in society make the laws for everyone, we're going to have this crazy slip slide off the cliff, and we're going to get in a bad place, which is, I think many of you can already see what's happening. With, at least here in the United States, with the Rainbow Coalition and the LGHD TV group saying that they want to teach young kids about this stuff when they're 5, 6, 7 years old, and let them, a kid can't choose when to go to bed. A kid can't choose what to eat for every meal, because we all know kids that eat cookies and ice cream and cake and make themselves sick or morbidly obese. You don't give a kid a sharp blade and let him play with it, because he could accidentally cut himself. But if a kid at 6 decides he feels like he likes the color pink and wants to be a girl, that they're going to, swap him from being a boy to a girl. or a girl to
Destroy
a
an
boy.
eagle's egg and
When
you'll
you
be in
let the
prison for a
most
while.
emotional in a society determine the laws
think
and the
so.
rules,
I don't know, I think-
and you get this
I think so.
hedonistic lifestyle, you're going to have problems, and you're going to have the collapse of a society. And many times I've talked about how it reminds me of the fall of Rome. Look, there's many reasons that Rome came about, but they did get into a pretty hedonistic lifestyle of doing whatever pleased them, whatever felt the best, and whatever was great for the moment, without looking at the long-term ramifications of what happens in history. And I think that's one of the reasons why it went. Well, we're following that same path here. And, there's many times I've joked around where I say, well, I welcome my Chinese overlords, the CCP, because at least they won't put up with this crap. Now, I joke about that because obviously it'd be a bad thing. But the truth of it is that our adversaries, whether it's adversaries of the United States or the West or Western culture, all they have to do at this point is sit back and wait. And the CCP and other countries, a lot of them will play the long game. The CCP has been known to make decisions and wait them out for 50 years. All they have to do at this point is just sit back and watch the decline of Western society and the feminization of men, and men becoming weak, and men not caring about their country anymore because their country is falling apart, where men will say, there's nothing here for me to even defend or care about. It used to be they'd defend their families and their loved ones and their liberty and all the wonderful things that they love in life. But when you have your liberties being taken away from you, and you have your families being taken away from you, and you have your freedom being taken away from you, what's left to fight for? What's left to be the American dream, or European or English dream, or Irish dream, or Australian dream, New Zealand dream, whatever? What's left to really fight for? And there's not much. So, I just on a non-political level, I think this is an interesting decision, because it makes women have to pay for a bad choice. They sleep with the wrong guy. They don't use protection. They think in the moment instead of thinking at the long term, and now they know what it feels like to be a man. And for you guys out there that are still, having fun with your ladies and all that stuff, just be aware that you wrap it, make sure you're protecting yourself, because your choices, you've never really had a choice, but now you don't even have the prayer that she may decide not to keep it, and you may end up being a dad if you're a dad. I'm going to be here in Florida for just a couple more days, probably right around until about the 29th. Then I'm heading up to Tennessee, and I've got a little apartment I'm going to rent, and I'll put the studio back together. I'm going to be doing probably a handful of videos like this, just talking head stuff. So if you guys want to just listen, that's what these are going to be. And that's it for me. We'll see you in the next one.
So I want to make this clear, because I get asked this all the time. First of all, why do you care? It's not your body. It's not your choice. Well, last time I checked, a normal, healthy female human doesn't have two heads, doesn't have 4 arms, doesn't have 4 legs. So, I guess at that point it wouldn't be just your body, right? It would be then the body of my child as well. So, it starts off as your body, but see, once you're pregnant, it's no longer just your body, which means you no longer have the only say, okay? So why do I care? Because I care about kids. I care about my kids. I care about my friends' kids. I care about kids in general. And you could virtue signal all day and tell me to go adopt, which I'm kind of working on already. The issue at hand has nothing to do with adoption. The issue at hand has to do with poor reproductive choices. Okay? Sex, like it or not, has the, I don't want to say consequences, because kids are never ever consequences. Sex has the repercussions of children. This is what happens during penis being inserted into vagina. Kids. babies, children, life is created. That's what sex is intended for. Now, I'm not a religious nutbag, and I'm certainly not a Bible thumper, and I definitely have my fair share of premarital sex, so I'm not coming at this from a religious standpoint whatsoever. However, coming at this from a standpoint of that of a average man, and that is, if I get you pregnant, I have no choice but to at least take care of that child, if not you as well, assuming that that works out to be the case, right? I personally don't know a single man who has any problems whatsoever with taking on the responsibility of a child should he have one. I've been alive 32 years. I've encountered a lot of men. None of the men that I know personally, none of the men that I keep in my circle, none of the men who I have interacted with on even a semi-regular basis, none of the guys in Discord that I know, none of the guys in California, my homies that I know, nobody that I keep in my immediate circle has any problems whatsoever with taking care of a child and or the mom. Nor do any of those men that I know, out of all those men, none of them would stand by and watch a woman get raped. None of those men would rape a woman themselves. None of those men would ever allow for violence to become a woman or their children. Okay? The men that I know, the masculine men that I know and interact with and keep in my circle, would defend a woman and their children with their life. Okay? A random woman and her kids with their life. Okay? So, it matters to me, it matters to us, because it is now our children. It is, in fact, even if you want to theory craft it, the possibility of my children. We have always cared about this. Now, are there a small handful of men that I have encountered in sleeping with single moms? Are there a small percentage of men who, knock women up and say, bye, deuces, see you later, sayonara, good luck, it's not my kid? Yes. Yes, absolutely. There are a very, 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 very small percent of men who knock women up and go, oh, well, good luck. I would argue at least half of those cases that are already very small, mind you, are due to the women being completely insufferable and the men not wanting to deal with it. Now, is that justification? Absolutely not. You made a child, you have responsibility to that child. Period. End of story. No fucking arguments. That's what child support's for. Child support is meant for absent fathers, not failed relationships. Okay? Period. End of story. You have an obligation to your child. You have a moral, at the very least a moral, and of course financial obligation to the child that you helped make and bring into this world. But I would argue that 50% of already that very small number of men who do say bye are due to the fact that those women are completely insufferable. Yeah, you were a great fuck. The pussy was tight. You gave great head. Everything was fantastic. But look, you know what? You're actually really fucking stupid. You have no goals. You have nothing going on for you. You were just a great fuck. Oh, now you're pregnant. Well, look, I really can't stand to be around you like that. So, goodbye, good luck. Again, I'm not justifying it whatsoever. Guess what? You helped make it. You helped raise it. Period. End of story. But, that being said, this is why it's important for you to be very careful about who you put your dick in. That's the reality of it. But that's why I care. That's why we care as men. Because it matters. Because if I don't care, then who the fuck else is going to care? If I don't have an opinion, who else is going to have an opinion and say something? If I don't say something, who else is? Right? Nobody. It's just going to continue to be a dead issue, and we're going to continue to see the suicide rates that we have in single fathers and men. We're going to continue to have no opinions, no rights, to the child that we helped make, and that's a problem. Okay, that's a big problem.
Second ago, responsibility and authority.
Yeah.
They want all the authority but no responsibility, and that's really what abortion comes down to.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I'm going to say it again. Okay, abortion is the ultimate expression of hypergamy. There's your red pill. There's your red pill moment for you. Okay. And people get really pissed off at me when I talk about this. I've done it on my show several times in knowing it was going to come back up again. But that's what abortion is about. It's not about, the pro-lifers who want to say, you're going to go to hell if you have an abortion. They make it a moral, emotional issue, right? It's emotion fighting emotion. So you've got the right side where they're saying, abortion is murder. And then you've got the left side saying, well, a woman's right to choose. We don't want men controlling our bodies. We don't want you don't have a seat at the table because you have a penis and not a uterus. And so they make a big emotional appeal, and you go out into the streets when they're protesting, and you can see just how emotional, feminist women get when you start saying, hey, we're going to overturn Roe.
And the
v.
scary
Wade.
part is it's just a draft. It hasn't went anywhere.
It hasn't done anything. We're not going anywhere. Yeah. But so my question, I always say this is if you're on the conservative side, if you want to win this argument, stick to the facts.
Yeah.
Because 98% of abortions are done electively. They're not done for incest or EPAR.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't say that.
Yeah.
They're not, because they are electively done. It is.
We can say it one time. It's
Okay.
basically. Go ahead, take it away.
So if you go and you look at like the statistics for and if you can find the statistics, because the statistics are state by state.
Yeah,
certain states won't allow them to say, an abortion clinic to say, why are you getting this abortion done?
Yeah.
It's just like none of your goddamn business, right? Florida, on the other hand, they keep records like this. And in the states that keep records, if you go and you look at the reasons given for any particular abortion, it is it's 98% of those are elective abortions, meaning I'm not ready for a kid, killed a party, whatever it is. Essentially, what it boils down to is abortion is a fail-safe for women's bad reproductive choices. How do we know that? Because 98% of those abortions are elective for women. So that's another thing I want to point out is when you hear that, and you will hear this, you probably already have, but when women say, well, what about in instances of rape? What about in instances of incest? What about in instances of this? Those account for a minute fraction of 1% of all of the ones that they can track anyways.
There you go.
So those are stats, black and white. I can show you the research right there. If you want to win the argument on abortion, stick to the numbers, you'll win. You will absolutely win. But the minute you go, abortion is murder, a woman's right to choose, as long as you stay, two sides of the ideological spectrum are fighting each other with emotional arguments, that's exactly what the political process and the political system wants. That's what they were trying to inspire. You can win this argument by saying, what is the function of abortion? Why do women fight tooth and nail to keep safe, legal abortion? Right. Well, it's a woman's right to choose. It's like a right. Choices. Suddenly it's a human right to abort a child. And when a country that didn't have, like Ireland or Argentina or whatever, when they finally get the right to abort,
they're in the streets going crazy.
They have it's another emotional response, right? Let's all party. Let's all have a good time.
Could you imagine
celebrate?
No birth control, no abortion. Women would have to choose the right partner, because if they didn't, they're screwed.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah, they went. What country was it that recently legislated it? Was it somewhere in South America? Was it Argentina or Brazil?
I want to say it was Argentina, because Argentina is a Catholic country, and I'm pretty sure it was pretty recently. It might have been they
were going crazy on the streets, man. They're fucking
and on the streets in Argentina. And you know what else? On the streets of when they're showing other video from other countries, women in I don't know, in the United States and Ireland and wherever, they're celebrating too.
They're going fucking crazy. They're just going wild, bro.
And why is that? Because that is that abortion as a fail-safe for bad reproductive choices is I'd say the most, but it is certainly a keystone or a cornerstone of gynocentric power for women. So as long as you can keep that there, it doesn't hold women to one guy. They feel like they can go, and I was put this in Kill the Party, right? It's they're always looking for the guy who's better than the one that they had before, unless that guy's really good, and then they'll have that guy's baby. but they always have the option to not have the child. And that's really what abortion's about.
Yeah, shout out to all the college white girls on birth control.
Yeah, shout out to y'all.
In Miami.
Yeah, again, I'm not arguing for or against abortion. I'm not arguing for or against birth control. What I'm saying is these are the stats. What do you have to say about them?
Yeah. And it's very interesting because, you know, women always fight tooth and nail for their rights and privileges. And it's amazing how they literally band together, right? Even girls that hate each other will sit there and band together. And I've noticed this during our interviews. Like, let's say one girl is like not a hoe, but the girl sitting right next to her is a hoe. What they'll do is they'll qualify their statement before they make it, saying, hey, but every girl should be able to do whatever she wants to do. Right. I just happen to not do that. But they want to be able, what I've come to realize.
Be judgmental.
Exactly. They don't want to be judgmental. And then they always want to be able to have the option to be a slut when they feel like it. Even if they're not, they want to be able to feel like it, you know? So when they see a girl that's going through a hoe phase, or a girl that's involved in pornography, stripping, whatever it is, some kind of sex industry work, and that girl can she can be a fucking, you know, doctor. She's still going to defend that woman involved in a sex trade, because women always want to be able to reserve the right to do whatever the fuck they want, whenever the hell they want to do it, and they do not want men involed in their affairs to any degree.
And oh man, so I don't step on you real quick.
Go ahead, please.
So like that really, if I something that gets me really worked up is the idea, and you've heard women say this, that men don't have a seat at the table. You don't have a uterus. You don't have to go through childbirth. So you stay out of this room. We're going to make the decisions for ourselves. And they will literally say, you don't have a seat at the table. Right? Okay. Well, fuck you. I do have a seat at the table, because it's half of my genetics that are involved in this. And also I am 100% responsible for a decision that I have a 0% authority about. So when I brought this up 100 different times, usually with like, you know, someone like Matt Walsh or Candace Owens or whatever, when they're talking about like responsibility versus authority, and they'll go, well, give me an example of that. Period. There's a really good glaring one right there. It's like, once the sperm leaves your body as a man, you are effectively powerless at that point. And so when by the way, I will hold the conservative side their feet to the fire just as much as I would the other side, because when Matt Walsh says, well, abortion is murder. Okay, great. Okay. If that's where we're going to go, we're going to set that aside. Okay, so are you in favor then, Matt Walsh, of holding women accountable for murder who haven't had an abortion or will have an abortion in the future? I know you can't prosecute people for, you know, old crimes and stuff, but like, are those women who have had abortions, should we try them for murder? One, because essentially that meets the definition for it's premeditated murder. So are you ready to go and prosecute these women as a result of that? No, it's, you know, it takes, now suddenly men have a seat at the table, right? Now it takes two to tango, and men should keep their, you know, rascal in their pockets, you know, and then suddenly when it's convenient, men have a seat at the table, and they have to have some sort of bear some responsibility, rather than the fact that it is the woman who has the baby. It's in her uterus, because we don't have them, and she's the one that's making the decision for that. So it's before abortion is you don't have a seat at the table. Once that's happened, then suddenly I do, because now we're going to be held liable for murder if we don't have a guy involved. Or some people will of course say that, you know, the abortion doctor as well. But it's the woman that is making the final decision. Her body, her choice. The choice is murder.
One of the biggest argument points on this show that girls get the most triggered with me on is when I tell them, if you have a child and you're a single mother, it's your fucking fault. And they get mad at me for that.
There are no accidental pregnancies, not in 2022.
Exactly.
There are no
so when they get mad, and I'm like, listen, you have 100%, like in the West in general, the United States, Canada, etc., any first world country where feminism is strong and alive, women have unilateral control over who gets born and who doesn't. So it's like, if you choose to have the child and you pick the guy that was a loser, that's on you. You know, but the thing is that women are able to have the child and then drag the guy to the fucking table when they had previously kicked him out, and tell him, not only do you come to the table, but you got to come to the table with your fucking wallet now.
Right.
So women have, you know, my body, my choice, but men have zero choice when it comes to supporting that child.
So you can't even know whether the kid's yours or not.
You can't. Yeah. And I think it's either France or Spain, one of these crazy Western European countries. You can't even, I think it's France. You can't even check the paternity of the child. It's illegal.
Yeah. And if it comes out like during, like if they're doing genetic testing or they're doing blood testing, you find out that the child is not actually the biological father's, the medical staff are not allowed to tell the father that kid ain't yours.
Scary shit.
Because of course what they do is they rely on the Duluth model of feminism. They say, well, he's going to get angry.
We broke that down too. Domestic violence. We broke that down too.
We talked about that on the last show, as a matter of fact. But so there you have it. It's like you can't even know that the kid is yours, because daddy might fly, stepdaddy now might fly off the handle if he found out that the kid's not his and he's been investing in all of this for this time. And again, so tell me how that's oppressing women. Tell me how that's oppressive. Tell me how that level of control, that convenient level of control of you don't have a seat at the table until I need you to have a seat at the table because I need somebody to bear the responsibility for my bad reproductive choices.
And they've had this since 1960.
That's not oppression. If anything, it's the oppression of the guys who's just like,
the men are
what am I
oppressed, not
supposed to
them.
do? And if you don't do it, you're insecure in your masculinity and you're a bad dad and you're a deadbeat.
So as a guy, knowing these facts and these truths here, how should he maneuver in the dating market?
Don't get married.
There you go.
No, everybody, after I do topics like this, people go, they're all gloom and doom, and they're like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't get together. Well, that's not what I'm trying to. I'm not again advocating for one or the other. I'm just saying these are the facts
Just
right
know,
here.
yeah.
Make an educated choice. Like what is it? Knowing is half the battle.
I can already tell. Here's the thing. I can already tell.
And look where we are. You just mentioned a second ago, responsibility and authority.
Yeah.
They don't.
Shall I tell them to fuck off?
This, I am. Shh, they're sleeping. My babies. Anyways. Abortion is absolutely disgusting, short of course, medical necessity. Killing children is never okay. It's not something that should be encouraged. And I can't imagine living in a state of mind that is, this is inconvenient to me. I'm just going to go ahead and kill it. I can't fathom that. I'm completely baffled as to why we have allowed women to get away with this kind of behavior for so long. And I'm not baffled at all, because men have become pussies and are afraid to put their foot down with women, and men are afraid to have an opinion, and men are afraid to speak up, and it is what it is. But what people fail to realize is that when you speak up in numbers, things get done. Okay? Many years ago, men would march across dirt and grass in bare feet, sandals and boots, with spears, with swords and shields, and they would conquer lands. Okay, not women, men. Men would cut and bleed and live and die, fail and conquer. Men have been moving the world since the dawn of time. And the things that matter only get moved by the men who are willing to pick up their sandals and their swords and their shields and march. This is a concept that confuses me, because so many modern men cry like women, like babies. Oh, well, it doesn't matter anyways. Tough shit. You're lacking in opinion, you're lacking in any kind of backbone or spine, you're lacking in standing for anything concerns me deeply as a fellow male. Because as a man, you should be standing for something. You should have an opinion. You should absolutely be marching for something in your life. When a woman asks you, what do you stand for? When a woman asks you, what are you about? When you ask yourself, what am I about? What do I stand for? What are my boundaries? What lines am I willing to cross and not cross? I sincerely hope you have an answer. I hope you have an answer. This matters. It's always mattered. It will always matter. Our opinions, our thoughts, your worth, the weight that you hold. A bottle of almost empty ibuprofen doesn't weigh a whole lot. This book doesn't weigh a whole lot. You and me, we weigh a lot. We're heavy. Mostly because of what we carry. Flesh and blood, of course. Sure. But you and I carry the world. You and I carry our families. You and I carry the weight of everything moving forward. You have no idea your value, your worth, your weight, the things you can do, because you have forgotten in modern times. You have forgotten your spears and your shields. You have forgotten your sandals. You have forgotten that everything gets done on the backs of men, not women. You need to have an opinion. You need to figure out and do some soul searching and figure out who you are, what you stand for, and what you're going to do about it. Because crying and bitching won't do anything other than make you feel better, if at all. Getting things done will make things better, will make you feel better. You have to have an opinion. You have to have something driving you. This is important shit. I wouldn't be half, at least, the man that I am today were it not for the mentality of wanting to be a parent. Were it not for having a child. I'm a parent. I have a seat at that table. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. So many of you young men have forgotten what it is that you're about. Some of you haven't even forgotten. You have no idea. You have no idea what you stand for. You have no idea who you are, what you are, where you're going. That's a problem. Roe versus Wade puts everything back in the state's hands. Nothing more, nothing less. If this isn't a wake-up call to start holding yourself and the people around you accountable, I don't know what is. Start being better. Start improvising. Start making a plan. Start having an opinion. I get it. Feminism has led you to believe that you are worth nothing. Women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. This is a fact of life. Abortion is satanic. I mean, everyone has a right to their own opinion. Again, I have no religious stakes in the matter.